Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UE's horizon, watching the stars through the main window. The ship was huge, carrying 2,000 people through space. Most of them were scientists and their families, not soldiers. They had come to the Kepler 442 system to find new worlds where humans could live. Jake had been a starship captain for 15 years. He loved exploring space and finding new places for humanity to grow. The Horizon was not a warship. It had only basic shields and simple weapons meant for clearing space rocks, not fighting enemies. Dr. Lisa Carter walked onto the bridge with a big smile on her face. She was the lead scientist studying alien life forms. In her hands, she held a small container with strange green slime inside. "Captain Morrison, you have to see this," Lisa said, holding up the container. "We found life on the third planet. It's just tiny bacteria, but it's completely different from anything we've seen before. This could change everything we know about life in the universe." Jake smiled back at her. "That's wonderful news, Dr. Carter. How many planets have we studied?" "Now, where we found life. This makes 17 planets with some form of life," Lisa answered. "Each one teaches us something new. The bacteria on this planet can eat radiation and turn it into food. If we can learn how they do it, we might be able to clean up the old nuclear waste sites on Earth." Commander Alex Torres sat at the tactical station, watching the computer screens that showed space around their ship. He was responsible for keeping the ship safe, but there had never been any real danger. Humans had been exploring space for over 100 years and had never met another intelligent species. "Captain," Alex called out suddenly. His voice sounded worried. "I'm picking up some strange readings on the long-range sensors. Something big is coming toward us." Jake walked over to Alex's station. "What kind of readings?" "Energy signatures I've never seen before," Alex said, pressing buttons on his control panel. "Whatever it is, it's moving very fast through hyperspace. The computer says there are multiple objects, maybe ships. Could they be human ships?" Jake asked. Alex shook his head. "No, sir. The energy patterns are completely different from our technology, and they're much bigger than any ship we've ever built." Dr. Carter moved closer to them. "Do you think we've finally found another intelligent species?" Jake felt excited and nervous at the same time. Humanity had always wondered if they were alone in the universe. "Alex, try to send them a message. Use all the standard greeting protocols." Alex began typing on his keyboard. "I'm broadcasting on all frequencies. Mathematics, music, pictures of humans, our location. Everything the first contact manual says to do." The bridge became very quiet as everyone waited. The other crew members stopped their work and looked at the main screen. This could be the most important moment in human history. "The objects are dropping out of hyperspace," Alex announced. "Oh my God." 12 massive ships appeared on the screen. Each one was 5 times bigger than the Horizon. They looked like giant black spears with glowing red lights along their sides. The ships had a design that humans had never seen before, with sharp edges and surfaces that seemed to absorb light. "They're beautiful," Dr. Carter whispered. "Look at the way they move together. It's like watching a dance." But Jake felt afraid. Something about the ships made him uncomfortable. They moved in perfect formation, like hunters surrounding their prey. "Alex, are they responding to our messages?" "No response on any frequency," Alex replied. "They're just sitting there, pointing at us." Engineer Sam Rodriguez ran onto the bridge. He was out of breath and looked scared. "Captain, the engine room is picking up massive energy buildups from those ships. It looks like they're charging weapons." Jake's heart began to beat faster. "Are you sure?" "Yes, sir. The energy patterns match our own weapon systems, but they're 100 times more powerful. Jake made a decision quickly. Alex, raise shields. Sam, start the engines. We're getting out of here. Shields are up, Alex reported. But Captain, our shields aren't designed to stop military weapons. They're only meant to protect us from space rocks and radiation. Do what you can, Jake ordered. Send an emergency. Message to Earth. Tell them we've made contact with alien ships, and they appear hostile. Alex began typing frantically. Message sent through quantum communication. Earth should receive it in about 6 hours. Suddenly, the alien ships opened. Fire. Bright red beams of energy shot across space toward the horizon. A first blast hit their shields and made the whole ship shake. Lights flickered on the bridge, and alarms began to sound. Shields down to 60%. Alex shouted over the noise. They're more powerful than anything we've ever seen. Another blast hit the ship. This time, the impact threw people to the floor. Jake grabbed onto his chair to keep from falling. Sam, how are the engines? I'm trying to start them, but those weapons are interfering with our systems, Sam replied. The energy from their attacks is scrambling our electronics. Dr. Carter was on the floor, still holding her container of alien bacteria. Why are they attacking us? We haven't done anything to them. Jake helped her stand up. I don't know, but we need to survive this. Alex, try to contact them again. Maybe we can surrender or negotiate. Still no response, Alex said. They're not interested in talking. The alien ships fired again, this time with multiple beams hitting the horizon at once. The ship's lights went out completely, and emergency power kicked in. The bridge was now lit only by the red emergency lights. Hull breach on deck 12. Someone shouted over the communication system. We're losing atmosphere. Jake knew they were going to die. The alien ships were too powerful, and the horizon was just an exploration vessel. But he had to try to save his crew and the important information they had discovered. Alex, prepare a data pod with everything we've learned about these aliens. Include the tactical information about their ships and weapons. Maybe someone else can use it. Pod ready for launch, Alex confirmed. Launch it toward the outer system. Maybe a rescue ship will find it someday. The data pod shot away from the horizon, just as the alien ships fired their final attack. This time, they aimed for the ship's reactor core. Jake had just enough time to see the brilliant flash of light before everything went dark. The UES horizon, along with all 2,000 people aboard, was destroyed in seconds. The alien ships then turned toward the 3 research stations that humans had built on nearby planets. They attacked each station with the same terrible efficiency, killing 15,000 more people. The alien ships finished their work in 6 hours. When they were done, the Kepler 442 system was empty of human life. The species that had come in peace had been destroyed without mercy or explanation. The aliens had made their message clear. Humans were not welcome in their galaxy. But the data pod that Captain Morrison had launched was still floating in space, carrying the story of what had happened. It would take years for someone to find it, but when they did, humanity would learn that they were not alone in the universe. And they would learn that their new neighbors were not friendly. The quantum message from the UES horizon reached Earth 6 hours after the ship was destroyed. President Maria Santos was eating breakfast when her emergency phone rang. The call came from Admiral Ryan Clark, the head of Earth's Small Space Defense Force. Madam President, Admiral Clark said, his voice shaking, we've received a distress signal from the Kepler 442 system. It's bad news. Maria put down her coffee cup. What happened? The exploration ship Horizon was attacked by unknown alien vessels. Captain Morrison managed to send tactical data before his ship was destroyed. All 2,000 people aboard are dead. Maria felt sick to her stomach. Are you certain? Yes, ma'am. The data shows 12 large alien warships with technology far beyond ours. They attacked without warning and showed no mercy. The research stations in that system have also gone silent. Maria closed her eyes. Humanity had dreamed of meeting other intelligent life for centuries. They had imagined peaceful contact, sharing knowledge and culture. They had never prepared for this. Call an emergency meeting of the United Earth Council, Maria ordered. We need to know what we're dealing with. 3 hours later, a council met in the secure bunker beneath Geneva. Representatives from every nation on Earth gathered around a large table. Admiral Clark stood at the front of the room with a holographic display showing the alien ships. Ladies and gentlemen, Admiral Clark began, we are no longer alone in the universe. Unfortunately, our new neighbors appear to be hostile. The hologram showed the black, spear-shaped alien vessels. Their design was unlike anything humans had ever imagined. They looked like they were built for one purpose: destroying other ships. Based on the data from the horizon, we believe these aliens have technology that is centuries ahead of ours. Admiral Clark continued. Their weapons can destroy our strongest shields in seconds. Their ships are faster and more maneuverable than anything in our fleet. Dr. Peter Williams, the director of the Earth Defense Initiative, raised his hand. Admiral, what do we know about their intentions? They attacked without trying to communicate, Admiral Clark replied. They showed no interest in negotiation or diplomacy. Their actions suggest they view humans as a threat to be eliminated. President Sanctus spoke up. How many ships do we have that could fight against these aliens? Admiral Clark looked uncomfortable. Madam President, we have 47 ships in our defense fleet. Most of them are designed for police work or asteroid mining. Only 12 are actual military vessels, and they're all much smaller than the alien ships. The room became very quiet. Everyone understood what this meant. Earth's space fleet was designed to keep peace between human colonies, not fight a war against advanced aliens. We need to warn our colonies, said Ambassador John Harper from the Mars delegation. There are over 200 human settlements across 50 star systems. They need to know what's coming. I've already sent warnings to all our colonies, Admiral Clark said. But I'm afraid it may be too late for some of them. He was right. Over the next few weeks, the alien attacks spread across human space like a deadly disease. The aliens called themselves the Vorthic Dominion, and they had been watching humanity for years. They had decided that humans were expanding too quickly and needed to be stopped. Lieutenant Colonel Amy Foster was on the planet New Geneva when the Vorthic arrived. She was visiting her sister's family when the orbital defense satellites detected incoming ships. Amy had been a soldier for 20 years, but she had never seen anything like what appeared in the sky. Get everyone to the evacuation ships, Amy ordered the local security forces. We have maybe an hour before they start shooting. The colonists of New Geneva had built a beautiful world. They had turned a dead planet into a garden, with green fields and clean cities. 400,000 people lived there, mostly farmers and their families. Amy watched as the Vorthic ships took position above the planet. They were even more terrifying in person than in the recordings from the horizon. Each ship was like a black mountain floating in space, covered with weapon ports and energy shields. Colonel Foster called Captain Pete Murphy, the local defense commander. Our orbital platforms are ready to fight, but ... But they don't stand a chance, Amy finished. I know. Just try to buy us time to evacuate civilians. The battle for New Geneva lasted only 3 hours. The human defense platforms fired their missiles and energy weapons at the alien ships. The attacks bounced off the Vorthic shields like raindrops hitting a window. Then the aliens fired back. Amy watched from the bridge of an evacuation ship as the orbital platforms exploded one by one. Each platform had a crew of 50 people. All of them died trying to protect the colonists below. "Colonel, we need to leave now," urged the ship's captain. "They're starting to target the planet's surface." Amy looked at the view screen, showing New Geneva's main city. Thousands of people were still down there, unable to reach the evacuation ships in time. She had to make a terrible choice. "Take us out of orbit," she ordered. "Save the people we can." The evacuation ships jumped to hyperspace just as the Vorthik began their bombardment. Amy watched through the rear cameras as beams of energy turned the surface of New Geneva into molten rock. The farms, the cities, the schools where children played, all of it was destroyed in minutes. Amy's ship carried 50,000 survivors to safety. But 350,000 people died when New Geneva was destroyed. It was the same story on planet after planet. The Vorthik would arrive, destroy any defenses, and then burn the world from orbit. Dr. Williams worked day and night at the Earth Defense Initiative, trying to find a way to fight back. He studied every piece of data from the alien attacks, looking for weaknesses in their technology. "The Vorthik shields are incredibly strong," he told his team of scientists. "But they're not perfect. There has to be a way to get through them." His assistant, Dr. Corinne Bailey, looked tired after working for 18 hours straight. "We've tried everything. Nuclear weapons, particle beams, kinetic rounds, nothing works. Their shield technology is just too advanced. Then we need to advance our own technology," Dr. Williams said. "We have pieces of destroyed Vorthik ships from the battle sites. Maybe we can learn from them." But learning would take time, and time was something humanity didn't have. The Vorthik were moving toward Earth's core systems, destroying everything in their path. They seemed to have unlimited ships and resources. The aliens followed a simple pattern. They would arrive at a human system, destroy all military forces, and then systematically burn every planet that had human life. They didn't try to capture territory or take prisoners. They simply wanted to eliminate humanity completely. On the planet Harmony, 50,000 colonists tried to hide in underground bunkers. The Vorthik used special weapons that could penetrate deep into the ground. No one survived. The research station at Wolf 359 tried to surrender, broadcasting messages of peace in every language humans knew. The Vorthik ignored the messages and destroyed the station anyway. Admiral Clark called another emergency meeting. After the loss of 12 more colonies, "We're losing this war," he told the Earth Council. "The Vorthik have destroyed 37 human worlds in 6 weeks. At this rate, they'll reach Earth in less than a year." President Santos looked at a map showing human space. Red marks indicated destroyed colonies. There were so many red marks that the map looked like it was covered in blood. "How many people have we lost?" she asked quietly. 43 million dead," Admiral Clark replied. "Another 20 million refugees fleeing toward Earth. Our remaining colonies are being evacuated as fast as possible." The numbers were too big to understand. 43 million people, more than had died in all of Earth's wars combined. And the killing was just beginning. The Vorthik Empire was vast, controlling over 200 star systems. They had been conquering other species for thousands of years. To them, humans were just another primitive race to be eliminated. But the aliens had made one mistake. They thought humans were like the other species they had destroyed, weak, divided, and unable to adapt. They had studied human colonies, which were peaceful and focused on exploration and farming. They had not studied Earth itself. Earth was different. Earth remembered war. Earth had nuclear weapons and the knowledge of how to build them. Earth had armies and generals and the industrial power to build weapons of war. The Vorthik had destroyed humanity's peaceful colonies, But they had not yet faced humanity's homeworld Dot as the alien fleet moved closer to the solar system. Something was awakening on Earth, the planet that had once almost destroyed itself in nuclear fire was remembering how to fight. The species that had clawed its way up from caves and conquered their own world was preparing to show the Vorthik what humans were really capable of. The Vorthik thought they were hunting sheep. They were about to discover they had awakened sleeping wolves. General Bobby Hughes stood in the war room deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, watching the huge screen that showed the Vorthik fleet approaching the solar system. For 200 years, Earth had been peaceful. The old military bases had been turned into museums. The weapon factories had been converted to make farming equipment and spaceships for exploration. But Bobby Hughes remembered the old ways. He was 87 years old, and he had studied every war that humans had ever fought. While other people dreamed of peace among the stars, Bobby had quietly prepared for the day when Earth would need to fight again. General, the Vorthik fleet is 3 days away from Mars, reported Colonel Jane Cooper, his second in command. They have 25 capital ships and over 100 smaller vessels. Bobby nodded. And how many ships do we have ready? 18 new warships from the Jupiter shipyards, plus 42 converted civilian vessels. The orbital defense platforms around Earth and Mars are online. Bobby had been building those ships in secret for 5 years. While the Earth Council talked about peace and exploration, Bobby had convinced a few key people that humanity needed to prepare for war. The ships were built at hidden facilities around Jupiter, far from where anyone would notice them. What about the new weapons? Bobby asked. Dr. Kate Murphy stepped forward. She was the head of the Reverse Engineering Project, the secret program that had been studying alien technology recovered from destroyed human colonies. Kate was only 35, but she was the smartest person Bobby had ever met. General, we've made a breakthrough, Kate said, her eyes bright with excitement. The Vorthik shields aren't as perfect as we thought. They're designed to stop energy weapons and kinetic projectiles, but they have a weakness. She pressed a button, and the screen showed a complex diagram of energy waves. The shields work by creating a specific frequency pattern. If we can match that pattern and reverse it, we can create a resonance effect that will collapse the shields completely. Bobby leaned forward. How do we do that? We've modified our quantum computers to calculate the exact frequency needed for each ship, Kate explained. It takes about 30 seconds to analyze a target and find the right frequency. Once we know it, our new weapons can punch right through their shields. 30 seconds is a long time in a space battle, Colonel Cooper pointed out. That's why we need to be smart about how we fight, Bobby replied. We can't meet them in open battle like they expect. We need to use surprise, deception, and hit-and-run tactics. Admiral Nicole Gray entered the war room. She was the captain of the UES Retribution, the first real human warship built in 3 centuries. The ship was massive, nearly as large as a Vorthik destroyer, and it was filled with weapons designed specifically to kill aliens. General Hughes, the Retribution is ready for combat, Admiral Gray reported. We've tested the new resonance weapons on captured Vorthik shield generators. They work perfectly. Bobby smiled. Nicole Gray was the daughter of 2 colonists who had died in the New Geneva massacre. She had volunteered to command the Retribution because she wanted revenge for her parents' death. Good, Bobby said. What about the crew? All volunteers. Nicole replied. Every person on my ship has lost family or friends to the Vorthik. They're ready to fight. The Earth Defense Force was different from the old exploration fleets. These were soldiers, not scientists. They had trained for months to fight the aliens, studying every battle recording and learning from humanity's defeats. Dr. Williams arrived with more good news. General, we've cracked the Vorthik communication system. We can intercept their messages and track their fleet movements. Bobby had been waiting for this. What are they saying? They're very confident, Dr. Williams answered. They think Earth will be as easy to conquer as our colonies. They're planning to destroy our orbital defenses and then bombard the planet from a safe distance. They're in for a surprise, Bobby said quietly. The Vorthic fleet reached Mars too. Days later, the human colony on Mars had been evacuated weeks ago, but the orbital defense platforms were still active. The aliens attacked them first, just as Bobby had predicted. The battle from Mars was broadcast live to Earth. People watched in horror as the Vorthic ships destroyed the defense platforms with their superior firepower. It looked like another easy victory for the aliens, but Bobby had planned for this. The Mars defense platforms were old and weak, designed to make the Vorthic think that Earth's defenses would be equally easy to destroy. The real defenses were hidden. Admiral Gray, it's time, Bobby said into his communication device. Understood, General. All ships, this is Admiral Gray. Execute Operation Payback. The human fleet had been hiding behind Jupiter's moons, waiting for the right moment. Now they jumped into hyperspace, traveling instantly to Mars. The Vorthic were expecting to fight weak defense platforms. Instead, they found themselves facing 18 modern warships equipped with weapons they had never seen before. The UES. Retribution led the attack. Admiral Gray had waited months for this moment. Target their lead ship, she ordered. All weapons fire when ready. The Retribution's quantum computers analyzed the Vorthic flagship, calculating the exact frequency needed to collapse its shields. 30 seconds later, the ship's new weapons fired. The Vorthic shields, which had seemed invincible for months, flickered and died. The human weapons tore through the alien hull like paper. The flagship exploded in a brilliant flash of light. Shields. Down on target 2, reported the weapons officer. Firing now. Another Vorthic ship died. Then another. The aliens tried to fight back, but their weapons couldn't penetrate the new human armor. The ships built in the Jupiter yards were covered with metal plates made from destroyed Vorthic vessels. The aliens found themselves shooting at their own. Technology. Commander Tony Martinez led the fighter squadron from the carrier UES Avenger. His pilots flew small, fast ships that could dart between the larger vessels. Tony had lost his wife and children in the Harmony Colony massacre. He would never forget the day he learned they were dead. All fighters, stay in formation, Tony ordered. Remember, we're not just fighting for Earth. We're fighting for everyone we've lost. The human fighters attacked like angry wasps, using their small size and speed to avoid the Vorthic weapons. Their missiles were tipped with resonance warheads that could collapse alien shields on contact. Captain Helen Wright commanded the assault cruiser U's Vengeance. Her ship was smaller than the Retribution, but it was fast and heavily armed. Helen had been a cargo ship captain before the war, running supplies to the outer colonies. She had seen the destroyed worlds and the refugee camps. She knew what the aliens were capable of. Vengeance to all ships, Helen broadcast. We have multiple targets on the left flank. Moving to engage. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it was over, the entire Vorthic fleet was destroyed. Not a single alien ship escaped. The humans had lost 2 ships and suffered minor damage to several others. But the real victory was psychological. For the first time since the war began, humanity had won a major battle. The aliens who had seemed invincible were not gods. They could be beaten. Admiral Gray stood on the bridge of the Retribution, looking at the wreckage of the Vorthic fleet floating in space. General Hughes, this is Gray. The Mars system is secure. Enemy fleet completely destroyed. Bobby Hughes smiled for the first time in months. Well done, Admiral. But this is just the beginning. We've shown them that we can fight. Now we need to show them that we can win. The news of the victory spread across human space within hours. The surviving colonies celebrated. The refugees in Earth's camps danced in the streets. Humanity was no longer helpless prey, but Bobby knew that the real war was just starting. The Vorthik Empire controlled 200 star systems. They had thousands of ships and billions of soldiers. The victory at Mars had been important, but it was only the first step. Dr. Murphy, how fast can we build more ships? Bobby asked. The Jupiter yards can produce 5 new warships per month, Kate replied. But we need more shipyards. I recommend we start construction at Saturn and Uranus as well. Do it, Bobby ordered. And I want weapons research facilities on every planet. In the solar system, we're going to need better technology if we want to take the war to them. The Vorthik had awakened something terrible in the human spirit. For millions of years, humans had been hunters and warriors. They had conquered their own world through intelligence, adaptability, and pure stubborn refusal to give up. The aliens had attacked humanity's peaceful colonies and thought they were seeing the true nature of the human species. They were wrong. The colonies had been humanity's children, innocent and trusting. But Earth was the mother, and she was angry. The Vorthik Empire had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. They had destroyed dozens of species and conquered hundreds of worlds. They thought they knew everything about warfare and conquest. They were about to learn that they had never fought an enemy like humanity. The species that had survived ice ages, plagues, and nuclear war was preparing to teach the galaxy a lesson about the dangers of awakening a sleeping giant. The war was about to change. The Vorthik had started it, but humanity was going to finish it. The victory at Mars changed everything. Within 6 months, human shipyards were working day and night to build new warships. The Jupiter yards had been expanded to 10 times their original size. New construction facilities orbited Saturn, Uranus, and even distant Pluto. Admiral Nicole Gray stood in the command center of the UES Retribution, now the flagship of humanity's growing fleet. The ship had been upgraded with new weapons and armor after the Mars battle. Around her, 50 other human warships prepared for the largest offensive operation in human history. Admiral, we're receiving the final intelligence reports from our spy drones, reported Commander Frank Davis, the fleet intelligence officer. The Vorthik have a major supply depot in the Proxima Centauri system. 24 enemy ships are stationed there. Nicole studied the tactical display. The Proxima Centauri system was only 4 light years from Earth. It was the perfect target for humanity's first major offensive operation. What kind of supplies are they storing there? Nicole asked. Weapons, ammunition, and fuel for their invasion fleets, Frank replied. If we can destroy that depot, it will seriously hurt their ability to attack other human colonies. Nicole nodded. The plan was simple but dangerous. The human fleet would jump into the Proxima system and attack the Vorthik base before the aliens could call for reinforcements. It was a gamble, but humanity was done playing defense. All ships, this is Admiral Gray, Nicole announced over the fleet communication system. Today we stop running from the enemy. Today we take the fight to them. Remember what they did to our colonies. Remember our dead. Make them pay. The human fleet jumped into hyperspace. They had been traveling for only a few minutes when they dropped back into normal space near Proxima Centauri. The Vorthik were waiting for them. The alien commander had expected an attack. Intelligence reports had warned him that humans were building new ships and weapons, but he had not expected them to be so bold as to attack a major Vorthik base. Human ships detected, reported the Vorthik sensor officer. They have 51 vessels. Our force has 24 ships plus the orbital defense platforms. The Vorthik commander was confident. His ships were larger and more powerful than the HFY. Human vessels. The orbital platforms around the supply depot had enough firepower to destroy 100 enemy ships. All ships, attack formation, the commander ordered. Destroy the human fleet. Leave no survivors. But the Vorthik were already too late. Human intelligence networks had infiltrated their communication systems. Every order, every troop movement, every strategic decision was known to humanity within hours. Admiral Gray were intercepting massive Vorthik fleet movements, Dr. Anderson reported from his intelligence ship. They're gathering a force of over 200 ships to attack the Jupiter yards. Nicole smiled coldly. Let them come. We'll be ready. The Battle of Jupiter became the largest space battle in galactic history. The Vorthik arrived with their biggest fleet ever assembled, expecting to crush humanity's main shipbuilding facility. Instead, they found themselves facing the entire human war fleet, plus hundreds of automated defense platforms. The battle lasted 18 hours. When it was over, the Vorthik had lost 160 ships. The humans had lost only 12 vessels and suffered damage to their shipyards that could be repaired in weeks. Commander Martinez, now promoted to captain after his heroics at Proxima Centauri, led the final attack on the retreating Vorthik command ship. This is for harmony. Colony, he said as his fighter squadron destroyed the alien flagship. This is for my family. The destruction of the Jupiter attack fleet broke the Vorthik will to fight on the defensive. Their empire was vast, but they had never faced an enemy that could strike anywhere at any time. Human fleets appeared in their space like ghosts, destroying bases and supply lines before vanishing back into hyperspace. Captain Wright, now commanding a squadron of 5 assault cruisers, led raids deep into Vorthik territory. Her ships would jump into a system, destroy everything of military value, and jump out before reinforcements could arrive. We're not just winning battles, Wright told her crew after destroying another alien base. We're destroying their ability to fight. Every supply depot we burn, every ship we sink, makes them weaker. The psychological effect was devastating to the Vorthik. They had conquered dozens of species over thousands of years. They had always been the hunters, never the prey. Now they found themselves constantly looking over their shoulders, never knowing when human ships would appear. The Vorthik tried desperate measures. They attacked human refugee ships, thinking it would force humanity to negotiate. Instead, it made the humans fight even harder. They attempted to use biological weapons against human colonies. But Earth scientists had developed countermeasures. Dr. Murphy's research teams had not been idle during the fighting. They had studied every piece of Vorthik technology they could find, learning the alien strengths and weaknesses. General Hughes, we've made another breakthrough, Kate reported. We can now predict whether ships will jump out of hyperspace. We can set traps for their fleets. Show me, Bobby replied. Kate activated a holographic display showing hyperspace travel patterns. Their navigation systems follow specific mathematical formulas. If we know where they're going, we can calculate exactly where they'll arrive and be waiting for them. The new tactic was devastating. Vorthik fleets would jump into what they thought was empty space, only to find human ships waiting in perfect ambush positions. Entire alien squadrons were destroyed before they could even raise their shields. The war had become a nightmare for the Vorthik Empire. Their mighty fleets were being picked apart by human raiders. Their supply lines were constantly under attack. Their commanders were afraid to leave their home systems. We have broken their military power, Admiral Gray reported to General Hughes. Our intelligence indicates they're recalling all fleets to defend their core worlds. They're no longer capable of offensive operations. Bobby looked at the strategic map. Red marks still showed Vorthik-controlled systems, but they were now surrounded by blue marks, indicating human victories. The tide of the war had completely turned. How many ships do we have now? Bobby asked. Over 300 warships, plus twice that number in support vessels, Nicole replied. The new shipyards are producing faster than the Vorthik can destroy them. Bobby made his decision. It's time for the final phase. We're going to attack their homeworld. The plan was audacious. Humanity would gather its entire fleet and strike at the heart of the Vorthik Empire. It would be the largest military operation in human history. Are you sure we're ready for this? Admiral Gray asked. Bobby Hughes looked at her with eyes that had seen too much death and destruction. Nicole, they came to our worlds and killed our children. They burned our colonies and murdered our civilians. They started this war, but we're going to finish it. It's time to end this once and for all. Humans had learned from their earlier defeats. They no longer tried to fight the Vorthik ships in direct combat. Instead, they used speed and tactics to confuse the enemy. Commander Tony Martinez led the fighter attack. His squadron of 30 fighters launched from the carrier UES Avenger just as the battle began. The fighters were small and fast, designed to slip past the Vorthik defenses and attack the supply depot directly. All fighters, stay low and fast, Tony ordered. Don't give them time to target us. Hit the depot and get out. The fighters dove toward the planet where the supply depot was located. The Vorthik tried to shoot them down, but the human ships were too quick and too small. They dodged between the larger vessels like birds flying through a forest. Tony's fighter reached the depot first. The building was huge, covering several square kilometers. Inside were enough weapons and supplies to fuel a dozen invasion fleets. Target locked, Tony said to himself. He fired his missiles at the depot's main fuel storage tanks. The explosions lit up the planet's surface like a small sun. Captain Helen Wright commanded the assault cruiser UE's Vengeance in the main battle. Her ship was fast and heavily armed, perfect for hit-and-run attacks against the larger Vorthik vessels. Vengeance to all ships, Helen broadcast. We have multiple targets on the outer edge of their formation, moving to engage. Helen's ship danced between the Vorthik vessels, firing its resonance weapons and then moving away before the aliens could return fire. The new human tactics were working perfectly. Shields down on target 7, reported Helen's weapons officer. Firing. Now, the Vorthik ship exploded as the human weapons tore through its hull. The aliens were learning that their size and armor meant nothing against the new human technology. Dr. Carl Anderson watched the battle from the intelligence ship UE Observer. His team had been monitoring Vorthik communications for months, learning their language and understanding their tactics. Admiral Gray were intercepting enemy communications, Carl reported. They're calling for reinforcements from the Tau Ceti system. We have maybe 2 hours before more ships arrive. Understood, Nicole replied. All ships, accelerate the attack. We need to finish this quickly. The human fleet fought with a fury that surprised even their own commanders. Every ship carried crew members who had lost friends or family to the Vorthik. They fought not just for victory, but for revenge. The battle turned into a slaughter. The Vorthik, the human fleet that gathered for the final assault, was the largest military force in galactic history. 500 warships from every class floated in formation around Jupiter. Battleships, cruisers, destroyers, carriers, and support vessels. Stretched as far as the eye could see. Admiral Nicole Gray stood on the bridge of the UE's Retribution, now upgraded to serve as the flagship of the combined human fleet. Around her, the best officers and crew members humanity had ever produced prepared for the most important battle of their lives. Admiral, all ships report ready for hyperspace jump, announced Commander Davis. Target, the Vorthik homeworld of Vi. Vorthik Prime. Nicole looked at the tactical display showing the alien homeworld. It was a massive planet with a population of 12 billion Vorthik. The planet was protected by orbital defense platforms, shield generators, and the largest military fleet the aliens had ever assembled. General Hughes, are you certain about this plan? Nicole asked over the communication link to Earth. Bobby. Hughes appeared on the screen from his command center. The old general looked tired after 2 years of constant warfare, but his eyes still burned with determination. Admiral, they showed no mercy to our civilians, Bobby replied. They destroyed our colonies without warning or negotiation. It's time they learned what happens when you attack humanity's children. The jump to Vorthik Prime took 6 hours through hyperspace. When the human fleet dropped back into normal space, they found themselves facing the most heavily defended planet in the galaxy. The Vorthik had gathered every ship they could find to protect their homeworld. Over 300 alien vessels formed defensive lines around the planet. Massive orbital platforms bristled with weapons that could destroy entire fleets. Incoming transmission from the Vorthik flagship, reported the communications officer. Put it on screen, Nicole ordered. The image showed Supreme Admiral Vorthik Prime, the leader of the alien empire. He was a tall, reptilian creature with dark scales and glowing red eyes. When he spoke, his voice was filled with rage and desperation. Human Commander, you have proven your military skills, Vorthik Prime said. But this is our homeworld. We have advantages here that you cannot overcome. Withdraw now, and we will discuss terms for ending this war. Nicole looked at the alien leader with cold hatred. You attacked our colonies without warning. You killed 43 million innocent civilians. You showed no mercy to our children. You will receive the same consideration you gave to them. She cut the transmission and turned to her crew. All ships, begin the attack. Show them what humans do to child killers. The Battle of Vorthik Prime began with the largest bombardment in galactic history. 500 human ships opened fire simultaneously, their weapons creating a storm of energy that lit up space like a second sun. The Vorthik fought desperately to defend their homeworld. Their orbital platforms returned. Fire with everything they had. Alien fighters swarmed out of hidden bases on the planet's moons. The space around the planet became a chaotic maze of explosions and weapon fire. But the humans had learned too much from 2 years of warfare. They knew every weakness in Vorthik technology. They understood every flaw in alien tactics. The battle was not even close. Captain Tony Martinez led the fighter assault on the orbital platforms. His pilots had trained for this moment for months. They flew through the defensive fire like it wasn't even there, destroying platform after platform with surgical precision. Platform 7 is down, Tony reported, moving to target Platform 8. His fighters danced between the massive defensive structures, their small size making them nearly impossible to hit. Each platform that fell opened another gap in the planet's defenses. Captain Helen Wright commanded a task force of assault cruisers, attacking the Vorthik fleet directly. Her ships moved in perfect coordination, surrounding enemy vessels and destroying them one by one. Target the command ships first, Helen ordered. Cut off their communications, and they can't coordinate their defense. The Vorthik flagship tried to retreat behind the orbital platforms, but Wright's ships followed it into the defensive grid. The alien commander found himself fighting for his life in his own territory. Colonel Jack Phillips prepared to lead the ground assault. His Marines were equipped with power armor reverse-engineered from captured Vorthik technology. They were stronger, faster, and better armed than any soldiers in galactic history. Colonel, the orbital defenses are down, Admiral Gray reported. You're cleared for planetary assault. Understood, Admiral, Jack replied. All Marines, prepare for drop. Remember, we're here to capture their leadership, not to destroy the planet. But if they resist, show them no mercy. The marine dropships launched from the fleet and dove toward the planet's surface. The Vorthik tried to shoot them down, but the ships were protected by the same shield technology that had made human warships invincible. Jack's ship landed in the capital city of the Vorthik Empire. The city was massive, with towering spires and underground tunnels that housed millions of aliens. The Marines had to fight their way through street by street. The Vorthik civilians had never seen warfare on their homeworld. For thousands of years, they had been the conquerors, not the conquered. Now they cowered in their homes as human soldiers marched through their streets. "This is what our colonists felt," Jack said to his troops. "Remember that when you see them afraid." The fighting was fierce, but brief. The Vorthik military had been designed to fight other species, not defend their own territory. They had no experience with urban warfare or protecting civilians. Dr. Murphy's intelligence teams had mapped every important building in the capital city. The humans knew exactly where to find the Vorthik government centers, military command posts, and communication hubs. "Target secured," reported Captain Amy Foster as her team captured the main government building. "We have 37 high-ranking officials in custody." The space battle ended after 18 hours of fighting. The entire Vorthik defense fleet had been destroyed. The orbital platforms were smoking ruins. The planet's shield generators had been shut down. Admiral Gray's fleet now controlled the space around Vorthik Prime completely. The homeworld of the Galactic Empire was defenseless. "Admiral, we're receiving surrender signals from multiple sources," reported Commander Davis. "The planetary government wants to negotiate." "No negotiations," Nicole replied. "They didn't negotiate with our colonists. Bring their leaders to my ship." Supreme Admiral Vorthik Prime was brought aboard the Retribution in chains. The proud alien warrior who had commanded a galactic empire now stood before a human admiral like a defeated prisoner. "You have won," Vorthik Prime admitted. "What are your terms?" Nicole looked at the alien leader with disgust. "You will surrender unconditionally. Your military will be disbanded. Your ships will be destroyed. Your weapons factories will be shut down. Your government will be replaced by human administrators." "You cannot rule our empire," Vorthik Prime protested. "There are 200 star systems with billions of our people. We don't want to rule your empire," Nicole replied. "We want to make sure you never threaten anyone else again. Your people will be relocated to reservation planets where they can live in peace under human supervision." President Maria Santos arrived on the flagship to witness the final surrender. She had aged years during the war, but she had lived to see humanity's complete victory. "This is President Santos of the United Earth Government," she announced to the galaxy. "The Vorthik Empire has surrendered unconditionally. Their threat to peaceful species everywhere has ended. Let this be a lesson to any who would attack innocent civilians. Humanity will not forget, and humanity will not forgive." The surrender ceremony was broadcast across the galaxy. Hundreds of species that had lived in fear of the Vorthik watched. As the mighty empire was brought to its knees by the humans they had tried to exterminate. "The war is over," Santos announced. "Justice has been served. The galaxy is safe." Colonel Phillips stood in the Vorthik throne room, looking at the empty throne where their emperor had once ruled 200 worlds. The empire that had seemed so powerful just 3 years ago was now broken and defeated. "Sir," one of his Marines asked, "what do we do with all their territory?" Phillips thought about the question. Humanity had never wanted an empire. They had only wanted to explore space in peace and find new homes for their growing population. "We'll give it to the species they conquered," Phillips decided. "Let the people they oppressed have their freedom back. Humanity doesn't need to be conquerors." The aftermath of the war changed the galaxy forever. The Vorthik survivors were relocated to a dozen small planets where they could live peacefully under human protection. Their military technology was destroyed, but they were allowed to keep their culture, and science taught many young Vorthik who had grown up during the war became advocates for peace. They traveled the galaxy telling other species about the dangers of aggression and the importance of respecting peaceful neighbors. Admiral Gray retired after the war and became Earth's ambassador to the new Galactic Council. Her first speech to the assembly was simple and direct. "Humanity asks for nothing except the right to live in peace," she said. "We will defend that right against any threat. We will also defend the right of other peaceful species to exist without fear. The galaxy has learned